back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Daily Report with Marcus Short. I'm your host, Marcus Short, here at the Zahi Studios Network. Now, we have a very exciting show in store for you all. We have Matt Mellen here tonight. Give it up for Matt Mellen, ladies and gentlemen. You guys are really in for a treat. But before we get into that, I got some things I gotta get off my chest here, okay? Let's start out. Ronda Rousey just hosted SNL. Give it up for Ronda Rousey. Very, very talented individual indeed. Now, Ronda Rousey just hosted SNL for the first time, and she did a fantastic job. Now, Ronda Rousey has been very public about her statements and her disdain in general for Floyd Mayweather. She doesn't like the fact that he's been accused and he's known to be abusive towards women, beating women up. That's not good. But I was thinking to myself, isn't that exactly what she does for a living? What a hypocrite. Just kidding. It's a little different. But in other more positive thoughts, gay rights in our generation is making a lot of progress. The gay community is really being accepted, unlike in the past. Now, the other day, my friend asked me, he said, Marcus, what are your views on lesbians? I had to think to myself for a second, guys. I said, I view lesbians just like any other man, in high definition, with my laptop connected up to my HDTV when my neighbors are sleeping. Duh. What's the big deal? Now, in other words, bald heads were a thing of the past, you say. But today, studies are showing that men between the ages of 40 and 50 are actually becoming more insecure about their hair. You know, back in the day, they just shave their hair, go bald, and they would own it. Not today. You got products like Rogaine and way more intense products that men are seeking out. And that's fine, because I think it's really hard to pull off a bald head these days, So much judgment going around, Magazines, you gotta be like this, you gotta have a full head of hair. Plus, I think there's only two types of guys that can really pull off a bald head. You wanna know? That's a black man and a white man who really hates black men. One more thing. Monica Lewinsky is deciding to come out with a tell-all book. I find that quite ironic. Gee, all this time and just now you're deciding to spit it out? But all jokes aside, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very exciting show for you guys. I hope you love it. I know I did. Ladies and gentlemen, the Daily Report with Marcus Short here at Zahi Studios Network. Tune in. Woo! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to jump right into our next game. Remember? Don't get me started, okay? In the Zahi Studios Cup, once again, we got all these different topics and stuff like that on things that you probably don't want to get me started on. Don't know about you. I'm pissed off already. So here we go. First one. Siri. Don't get me started on Siri. Okay, I got my first iPhone 5S. Actually, I got my first iPhone. It was the 5S about a year and a half ago. And it was a great phone. It's simplistic. It's a geniusly made phone, And everything was going great for about 3 weeks until I used Siri. Now, my girlfriend was over one night, and she had misplaced her phone. We were looking for it for, say, 3 to 4 minutes. So I get this genius idea to say, hey, I'll call it for you. She's like, okay, awesome. That'd be great, right? Siri, please call girlfriend. Siri says, which one? Now, meanwhile, I'm looking at the phone. She's looking at me. I ain't seen her since. Don't get me started on Siri. All right, next one. Here we go. Recession. The recession. Okay, so this country isn't exactly experiencing a surplus right now. Don't know if can't say we're in a recession, but all I do know is that last week my bank sent me something in the mail that I didn't ask for. It was a credit card, except for this one said pre-declined. Don't get me started on the recession. Last one. Weddings and funerals. That's weird, because weddings and funerals don't usually go together, unless you're the groom. Then it's kind of anyway. Listen, so okay, all right. I went to an Irish wedding and an Irish funeral about 2 summers ago in Boston. It was a long-time friend. I hadn't seen him since middle school, and he invited me down to Boston to go to a wedding. And ironically, it was a funeral too. The following weekend, I was up there for 2 weeks. And I say that to say this. I get there, and the first weekend was the wedding. His sister was getting married. It was immaculate. Like, I've never seen anything like this. So much dancing. It was like a rerun of Soul Train, but with Irish people. But it was really one of the greatest experiences I've ever had. Now, you know how Irish people get down. If you don't know, you better ask. There's a lot of booze and a lot of whiskey involved. Shout out to Conor McGregor, by the way. Anyway, so it was amazing. But like I said, the funeral was the next week. So very bittersweet experience that 2 weeks. Now his aunt had passed away. So he was very close to his aunt. And there was that experience, the funeral. So I went to an Irish wedding and an Irish funeral in the same week. In the same visit. So I came up with this. The difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish funeral is one less drunk. Don't get me started on weddings and funerals. Well, there you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Don't Get Me Started. Up next, we got musical guest Matt Mellen. You don't want to miss it. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Mellen.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, I'm looking at purple.
Oh, thank you.
Is that indigo or is that purple?
Well, technically indigo's blue, but we don't tell people that.
Okay.
Our indigo is purple, though.
I like it, man.
But,
awesome, man. So let's jump right into it, man. So,
yeah, of course.
So I've seen you perform multiple times.
Okay.
You're the real deal.
Thank you.
Your band, you guys got all the instruments and stuff like that. I'm a big fan. So, like, what were some of your musical influences growing up?
Oh gosh, when I was really young, and I thought I could skateboard.
We all.
Right? There was a small time, but Sum 41, I was huge on them. I love punk rock, just the really heavy stuff. You know what I mean? Gosh, and then it kind of morphed into more of I got really into pop punk for a while, like All Time Low, Mayday Parade, stuff like that. And then I pulled a lot of the influences from the music we do now from what my dad used to show me. He was huge in the 70s, like the Bee Gees, stuff like Motown kind of stuff, Motown kind of sound, Buckwheat Zydeco, all that kind of stuff. The more the southern funk disco kind of feel. So it's where I get my awesome dance moves.
Absolutely, man. So what specifically drew you into wanting to perform yourself?
Oh God. Well, when I was 2 years old, I was at my grandparents' house, and they set up these. You remember those Tinker toys? You like stick them in the little things, and you build all kinds of stuff. And I built a fake guitar and a drum kit. And there's some old VCR tape packed away in our house somewhere of a 2-year-old me going, "I want to rock, I want to rock," just
and
like.
Then he's like, "I want to rock."
And that kind of evolved. I remember I picked up guitar because my sister played guitar and I was jealous, so I wanted to play. And I went back and forth between guitar and drums and bass, and then I didn't pick up vocals until later on in college, but it really inspired me just listening to Sum 41 and the Bee Gees and the B-52s and All-Time Low, and all these bands, and just imagining myself in front of all these people performing, and it was just the most empowering feeling.
So almost a visualization in a way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. Comes to fruition, don't it?
It does. Even what you think about most happens most of the time.
Absolutely. The image you have in your head will come true. I remember watching a Bob Dylan interview saying that, and that kind of changed my perception on things. Absolutely. Now, like I said, you are the real deal when you perform it. Your band, you guys are immaculate. So my question is, like, do you guys have any pre-rituals that you do before some of your shows or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, usually we get together, and we go out back to, where we live, and we go to our goat farm, and we pick the best of the litter, and then we put them on the sacrificing altar. And you have to use an obsidian knife, because if you don't, then who's displeased? No, I'm just joking. We don't sacrifice goats. No goats were harmed in the filming of this episode.
Unless you're into it.
Yeah, exactly. Call us later. No, but we typically, the band themselves, I mean, I can't really disclose on public television maybe what they do to get ready, but what I do to get ready is I do vocal warm-ups. I do breathing exercises. Sometimes I'll do yoga or I'll meditate, because if your body is tense, because the singing is a whole body experience. I mean, a vocalist has to use their entire body to project and create sound, so you have to loosen up. You have to expand your lung capacity, and then I do all kinds of vocal warm-ups. Like I'll do, you ever heard lip buzzes before?
Yes.
You just do up, down, you can do operatic and get your throat open.
Yeah.
And then everyone thinks it's really silly, but you got to get your nasal cavity to open to hit those high notes.
Absolutely.
So usually you have to go like every time I do it when people are around there. What's this guy doing?
Have you ever had to perform, say when you were under the weather and everything was
all
hidden?
the time?
Does the crowd give you energy in situations like that?
It does. It really does. Especially when we perform at our hometown Be Here Now, because it's so cramped.
Yeah.
When you're sick, when you get warm, you feel better. When your body heat goes up. So when I'm moving around and performing, my body heat goes up, and I kind of get lost in the moment, and I do feel better. I had a lot of phlegm recently, so I had a cup on the side of the ground that I would when the crowd wasn't looking or someone wasn't doing something, I'd spit into it when people weren't looking.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, it does impede it, but I've performed many times sick and no one's noticed.
Wow.
So.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, some people might not know this, but you actually did a TED Talk at
I did, yeah.
And it was based on passion-geared education.
Yes.
And you actually brought up the statistic, I believe, 30% of people in America, or maybe worldwide, are in a field that pertains to something that they're not particularly in love with, and how that kind of ties in with the depression crisis and rates that are going on. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because people think that everyone is upset because, the economy's bad, or, because so-and-so did this, or because Kim Kardashian married so-and-so. No, it's a deeper issue, because people, need to pursue what it is that their higher calling is to feel fulfilled. You know what I mean? So those who don't feel this lack or this emptiness inside, and the problem with today's education system is that it funnels people. It takes them and literally puts them in a funnel, and then tries to sort them in categories and say, well, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, instead of sitting that student or person down and saying what are you passionate about?
Absolutely.
What do you feel natural doing? And the problem with that is if you're not asking people those questions, you're creating the standardization for education, and you can't allow those people to grow into who they're truly meant to be.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, because, you enjoy, comedy, acting, talk shows and stuff like that, but imagine if you had to sit in a room and solve math problems all the time.
I've done that before.
And how happy was that?
Not that happy.
Yeah.
Now, guys, if you guys haven't heard his TED Talk, go check that out. Along with that, go check out his music. Anybody who hasn't seen it, where can they find you, man?
Well, they can find our music at That's too many W's. www.indigoarmy.com. You can check us out on Instagram at the.indigos. You can also check us out on Twitter at _indigos_. And you can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/indigoarmy.
Awesome, man. Well, that does it right there, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it here first. Follow Matt Mellen and the Indigos, and we'll be right back. might not know this about you, but you actually have a TEDx talk up online called Passion-Based Education, Key to Changing the World. And you actually go into the statistic of 30% of people, I believe, in the world are actually in a field in life that relates to nothing that they truly love, and how that ties into the depression rate that we have in the world. Can you go a little bit more into detail about that?
Yeah, it's really interesting you brought that up, because I feel like that's the biggest problem with today's society, is that we're trying to fit people into a mold. We're trying to get them to conform to what it is that we want them to do, because we think that's what's best for everybody.
Right.
When, we're taking people and we're putting them through this funnel, and we're putting them in these categories and saying, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, instead of saying, what do you want to do with your career, with your life, whatever you want. And, we're not taking time to really ask those questions, and that's leaving people in the dark. It's not allowing them to find who they truly are and express themselves and what they really want to do and what they love. And I use the analogy in the TEDx talk about a puzzle. And most people, when you do a puzzle, the goal is to see each individual piece for what it is and find where it's supposed to go. The predetermined, predestined location of that puzzle piece, if you will. And that would create, a beautiful picture. But instead, what society's doing today is we're taking those pieces and we're cutting them up into little squares and we're jamming them together because we think we know best. And that, doesn't create happiness in people. It actually makes people depressed, because they're not doing what they love. I mean, because you love comedy and acting and, doing talk shows. And, how excited would you be to sit in a room and pour beakers, together and,
Not too excited.
I don't think so.
Yeah, man. So it's essentially like if you do something that you love, you really never have to work a day in your life.
You're absolutely right.
And the thrill of making a living off of something that you love, I think it's the most rewarding experience ever. Because if you're not being your creativity isn't being challenged, and that's not a life that I think anybody deserves.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to check that out, you have to actually. It's on YouTube. TEDx talk by Mellen. Passion-based education, key to changing the world. I highly recommend it. Now, speaking of college and stuff like that, you and I are actually from the same alma mater, Ball State University.
Wait, you went to Ball State? No.
Well, I wasn't in many classes because I was sleeping.
That's probably why I wasn't either. So that's probably why.
Okay. But okay, so a lot of musicians don't even go to college; they skip that process. But I believe that it worked out in your favor because you got the chance to expand your audience and stuff like that. How would you say that it exactly benefited you in a way?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, one, it was a lot of fun. It was a hell of a lot of fun. But the great thing about college is it's a accumulation of like-minded people who are all looking to become educated and meet each other of a similar demographic. So it was really good for our music because we could network and we could meet people of a similar age who were looking to do the same thing, go out and have a good time, meet new people, make friends, have fun. And it was a lot easier to say, hey, I'm in this band, you should come to our show that's in walking distance from the campus.
Right.
To go ahead and do that. Also, the university and the amenities they provide, such as their TCOM department, that David Letterman has generously donated, their recording studios, which we've done a lot of musical recordings in there, creating our EP, doing stuff like some live videos that are going to come out soon. Spoiler alert, it's not been announced except for right here.
Right here. You heard it first.
You heard it first. And, we've done a lot with the university in partnerships with shows and getting exposure that way. And I think if you have the opportunity to go to a university and are able to spread your music that way, do it. However, I am a proponent of if you have the opportunity to pursue your dream and you don't have to go to college, it's not necessary, which I do talk about in the TEDx talk.
Absolutely. And definitely check that out, guys. Now, we're about to take a break, and we're actually going to show you guys some EPK footage of 2015. You and your band, some of the work you guys have accumulated over 2015. Don't spit it out. Tune in. Matt and I here, we're going to be watching Fails of the Year, okay? And it's a compilation of videos of people messing up, essentially, and doing a bunch of goofy stuff. Now, we're going to put this, we're going to put some water, we're going to fill our mouths up with this water here, good old H2O, if you ever seen Waterboy. Okay, anyway, listen.
Wait, so can I drink this?
Yeah, let's drink it right now, and we're going to watch these videos and try not to laugh, and first one who spits any out is, loses. So.
Wait, what? You're telling me? Oh, man. I'm sucking at this game already. I gotta.
Man,
okay,
I don't.
All right,
These
here we
videos
go.
crack me up. This is gonna be tough.
I don't know, man. I mean, it didn't even play, and it's already. All right, here we go. Cheers.
Cheers, man. Let's do it.
Experiment 27. I'm being bullied in high school, and I want to stand up for myself. God, Christina, walk much? Hi, Justin.
That's Chris.
You were just... I'm everywhere, bitch.
Kick me in the head! Why did I not that on film?
Yes. Yes.
So close.
Yo, Matt, where can they find you at, man? I
Well,
lost.
they can find me at Matt A. Mellen. That's the tag for Instagram and Twitter. The band, IndigoArmy.com. And our Instagram is at @Indigos. Twitter is at @_Indigos. And yeah, you can find all our music there. So.
Absolutely, guys. Well, you heard it here first. Sahi Studios Network signing off. Thanks, Matt.